Welcome to Talking Halos. This is Derek Ciapola with my co-host, my partners in crime, Jared Timms, who looks a bit too relaxed where he is right there. If you are listening and not watching, he looks like he's about to go. Never mind. Nate, how are you doing?
I'm good, Derek. Good to see you. How about you? How you doing, buddy?
Living the flipping dream.
Good.
And apparently, I'm tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe I missed it. Did I get to witness Albert Pujols' last home run?
As long
Did
as
he
he
hit
doesn't
one in the
hit one in
last
the
two games?
postseason.
I'm talking about like career, career like numbers 703, right? Postseason doesn't change that, right?
No, I won't change that.
So I got to see 703. So I may have witnessed in person Pujols' last home run.
How close were you to it?
Very far away. I sat behind home plate. We were up.
Okay.
And if you've ever, most people who are listening to the show have probably never been to Pittsburgh ballpark, but it's, you know how Anaheim goes high, like it's
hmm
nosebleed. That's not how Pittsburgh is built. But Pittsburgh to me is probably a top five ballpark. And one of the reasons why is you are closer than you think. So I'm close. I had a really good view of home plate, but I mean, he's hitting it out
Yeah.
down the line. I you see all that, but it was pretty cool. I'm realizing, hey, I might be there for history, and apparently I am, unless he comes back next year. I mean, he's like 90 years old. So, I mean, even hey, Jared even kind of smiled at that. You're the one who said he thought I looked 50. I thought he might be 90. Going down the line as Walker.
I have no comment on that.
Okay, well, we got a few things for you, but this is our end of the season. Just we're gonna go snap, 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 snap. Best this, worst this, most that, and we'll see what you think. Give us some feedback on the Talking Halos Twitter feed, also in on where we at Facebook, anywhere podcast we found. Just give us some feedback or at talkinghalos@gmail.com. We would love to hear your feedback to our picks for the best and worst of flip and everything. And my first one for you, maybe the easiest, maybe not. Team MVP. And one would be painfully obvious, except for the fact that a certain fishy guy came back and hit 40 home runs. So, Jared, who's your team MVP?
Shohei Ohtani. I almost had you there. Yeah, it's Ohtani. Ohtani's really freaking good. Like, I don't know how else to explain that one. Like, he was as good as Trout was offensively. That's basically how good Ohtani was pitching. And then Ohtani was also a hitter. Like, I feel like I'm making this blatantly obvious. Yeah, Shohei Ohtani was really, really freaking good. I know we're gonna have a couple more podcasts about him and just his seasons in general because I mean, it's just unbelievable. A season that we've never seen before, and I think that a lot of people are forgetting about that. Like last year, he was really good. This year, he was really, really good. Like unbelievably good. I don't know how. Like Shohei Ohtani is my MVP for the year. I think it's pretty simple. Second place is Andrew Velasquez.
At least he didn't say Kurt Suzuki.
Go.
Yep, same answer. Shohei Ohtani. I mean, he has to be the team MVP. Best pitcher on the team, best hitter on the team. Yeah, I know Trout came back and hit 40, but Shohei Ohtani was able to play 160, 162 games. Trout played 105 or whatever it was. So gotta be the guy who got to play the whole year and had insane numbers on the mound and offensively as well. So yeah, Shohei Ohtani's the team MVP.
Yeah, Ohtani for me, and it really comes down to his pitching. My gosh, I don't think it would kind of actually, in my view, flew under the radar, at least from a national sense. I'm across the country, so for me, I mean, I'm not privy to all the local on him, but as good as we hear Shohei Ohtani is, because I'm far away from California, you don't really see it as much. His year was amazing. It was off the chain. And if the Angels win 10 more games this year, then maybe we're having a different conversation about it. So, I would say Ohtani. Now, next question. Biggest flipping disappointment for you. Nate, you go first. Biggest disappointment.
Biggest disappointment.
Individual. Biggest individual disappointment. There you go.
So the Angels as a whole can't be an answer.
Yeah, because that's different. That's a different podcast. All right, so Nate.
It's a close one for me, but I'm gonna go Jared Walsh. I know he had the injury, and that's gonna be like people are gonna say, "Oh, well, maybe it was the injury. That's why he was so bad the entire year." I just think from what the Angels were expecting, what we as fans were expecting from Walsh, like you're expecting him to be able to hit 4 or 5 in the lineup and be able to hit 250 to 270, put up 25, 30 home runs, and just be part of that offense that made it feel like a little bit deeper. Because Walsh hit about under 200 and really with no power, that lineup felt like it was 2 or 3 hitters long, and we really want that thing to feel a lot deeper than that. So I'm going to say Jared Walsh.
Jared.
I'm gonna say someone who isn't on the team anymore. Just because I think Jared Walsh is kind of who we not he had a down year, but he was kind of in a sense who we thought he still is. I'm gonna say Raisel Iglesias. I know he's not on the team anymore, but and I know you have to get to him, but it'd be nice. And Nate, I know you and I go back and forth on this. It'd be nice if your best reliever could pitch in different situations than just pitching in the ninth inning. Like the Angels really lacked in a bullpen this season. When Jimmy Herget's one of your better relievers,
You spent $8.5 million on Aaron Loop. Don't blame it on Raisel Iglesias.
I know, but those guys weren't put in very good situations. They weren't put in
The
the right
fact that
situations.
but the fact that you're spending $8.5 million on a 6th inning guy is outrageous. You cannot blame Raisel Iglesias for Aaron Loop's shortcomings. You can't blame Ryan Tepera for Raisel Iglesias' shortcomings. Again, you're paying him $7.5 million to not pitch in the 8th inning.
Raisel Iglesias was the most disappointing.
So Nate's a little emotional about that one.
It's not Perry
Manasian. Point that out.
Not Perry Manasian.
Then why are we paying him $8 million to pitch in the 6th inning?
All right. So we don't have a whole lot of time on this podcast to go knee deep into the. I just want to point this out about Raisel because I watched the whole Mets series this last weekend, Mets Braves, and Raisel pitching that series was lights out. And I'm wondering, well, where does stuff go when he was in Anaheim this year? Because he did have a hard time. I don't know that I agree on Jared's point, but he wasn't the same closer this year he was last year. His stuff was not the same for the Angels. And all of a sudden gets traded to Atlanta. His stuff looks great. Had like a .039 or .39 ERA in Atlanta as a 7th inning guy. What Jared's complaining about, why couldn't you pitch here? Well, he did in Atlanta. Just want to point that out. So, all right.
With the lead in Atlanta, which helped.
My guy, disappointment. I don't know if I can call Jared Walsh disappointment because Jared Walsh was a 39th round-ish draft. 39th round, right? 39th round draft pick. In my view, he's like a Kevin Moss until you prove me differently. Kevin Moss came up for the Yankees years ago, hit 21 home runs in 42 games, and after that, he pretty much did nothing the rest of his career. So, flash of the pan is what Jared Walsh could be, not the guy anybody expects to. However, what we continue to expect, and the guy can't stay healthy, is Anthony Rendon getting paid. All the cash is getting paid. And even when he was healthy this year, wasn't great. And I wonder if he'll ever be decent for the Angels. And that remains to be seen. Well, I guess we'll find out. Fingers crossed next year. Unless he gets hurt again, which seems likely. So that's my biggest disappointment because you have so much invested in a guy who's never panned out for you. All right. So we got most disappointing. We got our team MVP. How about is there a comeback player of the year for you? A guy you came out here and performed better than you ever thought he would?
Yeah, I think there is. I think Taylor Ward's that guy for me. I think that Taylor Ward was going into the year borderline making the team, and with some injuries and him having to step up, he turned into a really, really good player for the Angels. I mean, yeah, there were some times where he had to stay on the roster even though he was hurt and didn't really get to get his swing back and things like that. But I think we saw early and we saw late that he could be a player for this team, and kind of be what we hoped Walsh was going to be, a guy who's going to make this lineup a little bit deeper and just help this lineup, because it's nice, the versatility with him as well, but mostly going to keep him in the outfield. But it's nice that he can play all 3 outfield spots for sure.
Jared?
Jaime Barria is kind of that guy for me. I think we consistently talk about him being that one guy who you might non-tender, that one guy who you might get DFA'd for a couple years coming into this year. And then all of a sudden he kind of found his spot, bridging those, short starts, 4 innings, 5 innings, 3 innings, if that's what it is, into, the seventh, eighth inning. So I really like Jaime Barria in that spot moving forward. And I think it's something that a lot of good teams have. So yeah, Jaime Barria is kind of that guy for me. He pitched really, really well in not high situations, but he when you look at the numbers, he made innings pitched wise like 10 starts almost. It felt like 11 starts. So I mean, for me, Jaime Barria is that comeback player of the year.
Right. So for me, my comeback player of the year, and you'll probably shout it down, it was Jose Suarez. A year ago, I'm thinking this guy's done with the club. And I'm not thinking he was great. I'm not even sure if he's on the team next year. But he was a solid back end guy, would give you 5-6 innings. His ERA was relatively painless. I mean, didn't have the world's best stuff, but he gave you innings, and he wasn't getting blown off the ball every time out there. He wasn't giving up 10 runs in an outing. You never really saw him get shelled. That's my point. And having a solid back end guy in any rotation is good. And we were going to keep talking about this throughout the offseason. The Angels pitching staff actually wound up all right. It was the lineup that killed them at the end. And so for me, I mean, I almost left Suarez for dead, basically, and he showed me something this year. So, Taylor Ward too, by the way, is great. So, how about breakout player of the year? So let's come back. How about breakout player? Who's your breakout guy, Jared?
Ooh, that's tough for me. Like Livan Soto had a fantastic 50 at bats. That was a lot of fun. I loved what Matt Thaiss was able to do when he came up. So honestly, I think Matt Thaiss makes the roster out of spring training next year as well, especially with the question marks at first base. I do think so, and there's also question marks behind the plate. So I'm gonna go Matt Thaiss. I really like the swing. I know there's an obvious answer here, but I'll leave it for you guys.
Yeah, so for me, breakout player wise, I don't want to go the obvious answer either. This actually might be the obvious answer, but I think Reed Detmers was the breakout guy this year. I think where he ended last year and kind of where he started this year, it was kind of like, okay, is he going to be anything? But I think once we start using him, start seeing him use the slider a little bit more, he turned into a really, really good pitcher for us, and like he turned in from a question mark to a staple in the rotation. So I think Reed Detmers was the guy.
All right. So I want to be honest and say thank you to both of you, because I think maybe subconsciously you saved this one for me, because I've been a fan of his for years. The obvious one, the one they're not mentioning, is got to be Luis Rengifo. And back when the Angels traded for him, when I saw him first playing in 2019, I really, really saw something in him. So none of what he did this year surprised me. I was thrilled, though. I was really thrilled. Earned a spot in the roster next year for sure. I don't know if he'll ever hit almost 20 home runs again. I don't know about that. But, to me, I mean, talk about one of the last Epler trades that panned out. Well, there you go. There's Rengifo, who finally got a shot and made good on it. It's a really good story, honestly, in terms of a guy finally getting his shot. All right, so we got. All right, I have to address Trouty. Okay, and then I'm not sure if it's an award or not, but Trouty. How do you all view Mike Trout right now? This is not an award. I have to ask this question. It just comes to mind. Was we're reevaluating your bestest, top, biggest comeback here, blah blah blah. All right, Mike Trout, multiple times the last couple of years gets hurt. Has his first season where he hits below 300. I don't know if people realize that. And yet, I mean, there were times this last part of the year where he was unstoppable. How do you evaluate Mike Trout now? Start Nate.
I still think he's the best hitter in baseball. I know Aaron Judge had a fantastic year, but I think Mike Trout's still the best player in baseball. I think the one question that has to be answered though with Mike is, can he play center field every day? And I know he still wants to, but is it better for the team if he plays left field or right field? Most of the time. He's going to have to DH every now and then with the back issues and things like that. But if he's able to play a corner outfield and play 140 to 150 games out there, this is a different team, I think. And so that's kind of the question that I want answered is, does Mike still want to play center field? And if so, like, is this like have to play center field, or is this I really would like to play center field, but if you bring in a guy who, is a much better center fielder than me, and I have to move to a corner, and that means I'm for sure going to play 140, 150 games, I think that's best for this team. So I still think he's the best hitter in the game. It just depends on, is he going to be the best center fielder in the game? That's the question that needs to be answered.
We're the best hitter in the game. He's the best player in the game still. Like it's Mike freaking Trout. He is who we thought he was. He's gonna continue. Like he impressed. Yeah, you got something?
I question that though, honestly. And I'm probably going to people booing me. I'm not going to apologize for asking, but what makes him still the best player in the game? He's not base run like he used to. He does have some problems with higher pitches, higher fastballs now. That was not so obvious earlier in his career. Maybe he's pressing, trying to hit one out every time. Maybe that's why. But he's not the same guy, statistics wise, anyways, that he was a couple of years ago. So what makes him still, in your view, the best player in the game?
I mean, he had a 174 WRC plus, and his career average is 174. So he was still a very Mike Trout player. Just because Shohei Ohtani is a god, like he's that much, like he's in a different category for me. Because I mean, you can call Shohei Ohtani the best player in baseball, it's fine, but Shohei Ohtani is a different category. Like you can't, like we're not going to understand this year that he's had. We don't understand the contract Shohei Ohtani's had. So Mike Trout is still the best player in baseball. He's going to do the exact same thing he did when he was coming up. He's going to continue to like impress, even when we think he's going to have bad years. It's going to be impressive. Just like Mike Trout adjusts better than anybody in baseball. Like you look at it and you said he's not very good at the high pitch, and yes, he goes after that high pitch.
I didn't say that. Whoa! I didn't say that. I said there were more holes there this year.
Yeah, so he's always had the hole, but he knows that it's a hole now. Like how many times, like he doesn't hit the high fastball anymore. Like he doesn't go after that pitch very much. We see it every once in a while, but he knows. A simple answer: he's the best adjuster in baseball, and to adjust not just season by season, not just month by month, not just game by game, but like pitch by pitch, is just unbelievably remarkable. And that's why Mike Trout's been the best player in baseball, and that's why he continually will be the best player in baseball. And once somebody can adjust like that, not just like I said, year to year, not just play to play, but pitch to pitch like Mike Trout does, then you'll have the next best player in baseball. And like Aaron Judge had a fantastic season this year, but he didn't adjust pitch by pitch, right? He jumped all over his pitch. Mike Trout is the best off-speed hitter in baseball. He's the best fastball hitter in baseball. He's Mike Trout. Like he can do anything. It's unbelievable. It's remarkable. And if he stays healthy, he probably hits 55 home runs this year. And it's probably
it's more than that.
I think so too.
I think he and Aaron Judge have the race of the races this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're talking a 3-man race for the MVP. And I mean, I still think Mike Trout gets some MVP votes, maybe not first place votes, but with what he did this year, I mean, I think he still finished in the top 5 in WAR and wasn't even qualified. I finished second in home runs in the AL. I mean, it was unbelievable. Like the guy's still the best player in baseball.
I would say that there are warning bells ringing in the back of my head with him. And it has everything to do that he just hasn't played a full healthy season in a while. I mean, that's my only concern with him. And you can call it Albert Pujols syndrome too, by the way. Similar age, had that last season where you saw his average dip below 300 with the Cardinals, and then you're like, never hit 300 again. So when I look at Trout, those are my concerns. But I got to tell you what, how can you not be impressed with how he came off the injured list and hits 40 home runs? I mean, it makes you reevaluate even your reevaluations as to where you think Mike Trout is or where he's going to be. So I also wonder, how does Mike Trout hit if his lineup's better? Because his lineup pretty much sucked. I mean, that was a, you had some hitters in there, but you had a AAA lineup for a good chunk of the year. So that's kind of where I'm at with Trouty. And you know, thing we want to try and cover today to kind of close things out, I guess we need to ask one more question, and that is, do we feel that Phil Nevin deserves that 1 year? I'm going to start with Jared.
I mean, does he deserve it? Probably not. But my answer to this will continually be the same. You need somebody who's going to listen, not just listen, but be able to communicate with Perry, be able to communicate with everybody. And Mike Trout even came out and said, you know, like, he stuck up for us. He did all these things for us. He's, you know, a good manager. He knows how to communicate. He does it all, you know, really well. And that's kind of what you look for. As well as somebody who can not necessarily get along with the front office, because I think that's been an issue, you know, a lot. You know, you look at Mike Scioscia, he had some issues with the front office. You look at Brad Osmus, you know, maybe he didn't have some issues with the front office, but then Billy leaves, and then with everything coming out about Joe Madden and such like that, you just need a manager that's going to be on the same page as his front office and is gonna, you know, trust that everything, you know, that the front office does plays out. So did he deserve it? Probably not, but I'm not upset about it because I want somebody that, you know, communicates with the front office and, you know, works together with the front office and isn't, you know, pulling back and forth. So
all right, Nate, we're running out of time. 1 minute, go.
I've been on this train the entire time. He does not deserve this 1 year contract. But here's the deal: with the new owner coming in, he is going to make the decision on who the next GM is, if it's still Perry, if it's not. And then we want everyone to be on the same page. So if the new owner comes in, he hires a baseball ops guy who then hires a new GM. They decide on who the next manager is. I think that's the best way of going about it. The worst thing could be us doing the same thing that we've been doing over and over again, hiring a new manager, getting, you know, bringing in a new owner who brings in a new GM. And it's, hey, GM, you have to work with this manager because that's who's here for the next 3 years. So I think that's not necessarily earned it, but I think he's just kind of going to be a placeholder until the new ownership group comes in and makes that final decision for everyone.
And my quick view is, it just tells me that they're selling the team. I mean, if there's everything's just kind of staying neutral until they get that settled. That's why they gave him the deal. That's how I view it. Does he deserve it? I didn't see enough, but who am I? Last thing, then we're out of here. Real quick. World Series. Who you got? Who's going? Who's going to win? Jared, go.
Padres.
Who?
Padres.
You're taking the Padres?
I don't know.
Nate.
Mets.
He says Mets. I say Braves. No one's taking Dodgers?
No.
They don't have enough
All right.
pitching. First time I could ever say that.
Not built.
All right. So there you go. We're out of here. Before we go, Jared_Tim's on Twitter. Nate Green 34. DC Ciapola. Don't forget the Talking Halos tag. And remember to check us out anywhere podcasts are found. And also, of course, subscribe on YouTube. In the meantime, see you later. We're out of here.